Welcome back. It's Huck versus TLO, game number 3. Roddy, map's overgrowth. What's your impression on who's going to have the edge?
Very even. I think these two players are very evenly matched, and also the best of 3 being split so far 1-1. Both players being very successful over the last many years of StarCraft 2. I don't think this could be much more even. No, I wouldn't know, Sean. I wouldn't give an edge to either one of them.
Ooh.
Or they both get an edge.
Well, let us introduce our player down in the bottom right. Began the series down 0-1 and won very handily in game 2. Can he close it out? It is Liquid's TLO. And in the top right corner, ooh, building a pylon in main base. Excited to see what's in store there. Give a cheer for EG's Huck.
Yeah, I'm kind of expecting Huck to go back to his opening of game number 1, where he would go with the in-base pylon and just drop the Nexus in the natural and followed up with the gate. It could also still be a 12 or 13 gate if he wants to, perhaps be a little more aggressive. But there is no sense in opening up with a Forge against TLO, as TLO, like I said before, will just most of the time always open up with a pool first. So you can't really cannon rush him.
I think that the sort of cannon rushing play is... Well, actually, I don't think we even got the chance to talk about that enough in the last match. That was a big deficit to that early plan, because even though it cancels and even though it's not that much money, everything effective that Protoss can do is based on quickness. Quick 5 Phoenixes or quick Warp Prism in the main. So doing that at that early time slows everything by so much.
No, I couldn't agree more. It's not just about the little bit of money that he's losing. It's much more about the money that he's spending in that phase in the game that he's not spending on something else, but getting a quicker Stargate or getting more probes or getting a few additional gateways. There were so many better ways to use that money than trying to get 2-3 cannons up. I really felt it was just one of those things where you've never done it before, and suddenly you're playing this really important game, and you're like, this seems like a fantastic idea. I'm just going to cannon rush at the 6-minute mark, and then and then it's all said and done, and you're like, why did I do that? That was a terrible idea.
Yeah, I like that moment where you're like, well, let me try this. Hit BE, and you hover, and you're like,
yeah.
Oh my God, it walls. I'm in. And you build the cannon, and you're like, come on. Come on, and then you trap your probe, and you're like, come on! I like this opening from Huck. It's the same that he did on Frost. Expand with the gateway. I mean, I think the most notable aspect to this build is that you're going to get your cybernetics core about a minute sooner than you normally would. And I mean, what are plays that you now get to do that a normal early expand wouldn't be able to do?
I mean, some of the 2-base timings are definitely much more intimidating, but above all, your warp gate technology is going to be a tiny bit quicker, and we all know that like a lot of Protoss players these days like to open up with just 3 gateway aggression while going up to 3 bases on the other side of the map. Now we see a Forge. In this phase in the game, I find that a little interesting. That almost gives me an idea that Huck perhaps wants to do something with +1. I don't think it's going to be an all-out, absolute crazy gateway attack, unless he may have just gone over the build order of the last game, and he's like, man, you played greedy, your layer was late. But I feel it's very hard to kill someone like TLO. TLO is a player that loves to fight all the time. He loves to scout, and he loves to fight, and whenever he can fight, he will fight. So whenever you're trying to kill him with a 2-base play, in general, I feel that TLO is very strong against that, as he has excellent crisis management and is just good in producing a lot of units early on. If I was Huck, I would more make it like an in-between, like put on some serious pressure, but actually go up to 3 bases and hope that TLO has slightly overreacted to whatever you decided to throw at him.
Yeah. I'm really wondering what this Forge is about. There finally is the +1 gateway coming
cancels
down.
it.
I'm really wondering what this Forge is about. Talking a little bit about a TLO side of thing, it's a pretty normal 3-base play. I think the only thing that's slightly out of the ordinary is, a 6-minute, whoa. Almost always you get your extractor super early so you can get Zergling speed. With Zergling speed, you can easily destroy any pylon, apply any threat to something like exactly what Huck's doing, a fast 3rd base. But he's going for a quick layer. I mean, if he swarm host rushes, then I think that will epitomize everything that I like to joke about with Zerg.
All right, well, now the guessing game starts. A Roach one is actually being morphed in. I'm a tiny bit surprised by that because I was expecting maybe a Nidus play, which actually could be quite good, especially because there's no vision for Huck on the south side of his main. And I've seen Henderlist use a play like this, and it's actually like it worked surprisingly well. A Nidus with Swarmhost. It could be deadly, and eventually some Hydralisk as well. But we'll see if there will be a Nidus network or not.
I think a Nidus network is a fantastic play here. I mean, the main base is completely exposed. The gateway count is very low. The only reason this play works for what Huck's doing is the Sim City, his ability to block off attacks with buildings.
We do see the infestation pit, but there is no Nidus network just yet. Might just be in the near future. I mean, nothing is set in stone, I guess.
This is so brave from TLO. I mean, what I'm really referring to is the fact that there are so many Protoss attacks, even with this early expand, that all Zergs are worried about dying. They get speed, they get roaches, they get Overlord positioning all around the edges. TLO's like, nope, going Swarmhost, here it comes. Let's actually keep an eye on this infestation pit finishes. And pathogen glands.
I'm really quite confused, Sean. Like, I think it's really cool what TLO is doing over here. And Huck is not a player who scouts a whole lot early on. He sends out his first probe, after that goes back, and then he waits up until the point where here we start seeing hallucinated phoenixes. But we see infestors on the production tab. So TLO is basically just rushed to infestors. I mean, Fungal Grove is fantastic against a lot of sentries. It is also pretty good against Blink Stalker timing attacks with +2 on the way. But Huck does not have to attack. And I feel if Huck doesn't attack and just makes Immortals and then Colossus and then eventually High Templars, I'm not sure how effective this build from TLO will be, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, most of the time when you do an early expand in the way that Huck did, you get 8 gates and you do a Blink Stalker push with sentries. So that would be the perfect counter to this. We see, well, it's close to that, except that there's also a Swift Robo. I mean, this might actually work out to be a perfect timing counter from TLO, a very impressive build.
Yeah, I still kind of like how this is going for Huck as well, especially if he gets a good feel of what's going on over here. This could be a very annoying little attack to deal with. Currently, there are only 6 roaches, but we do have 25 Zerglings. So if the force fields are not immediately, okay, that's a fantastic fungal. Just recall out. So you can be very happy, by the way, that he had recall there, because those units would have died extremely quick. But there is a Robo Bay on the way, and now we do see Enduring Locust. So TLO is basically still going for everything that we normally see from Zerg in this phase in the game. He just got there in a pretty strange way.
Yeah, just said, you know what, if you're going Blink, I need to not die to that, and then I can crush you. Getting the Enduring Locust. This pylon on the right side for Huck, I think, has actually gone unscouted.
Yep, and he might be able to wipe in a few Zealots there. They have +2 soon, so they would actually be able to kill this hatchery very quickly, especially now when there are a couple of drones being transferred. That would be a really juicy wipe in for Huck if he decides to wipe in a few Zealots over there.
Well, picks happening in the middle. Blink Stalkers from Huck, always very brave units. Sneak around attacks from TLO, not particularly fast.
There's probably an Observer with that Blink Stalker hit squad as well. This is something I was talking about earlier. These Zealots will start working on this hatchery while the Stalkers and the Observer are picking up creep tumors in the middle of the map. Huck is doing this extremely well. He's spreading TLO a little bit over the place. TLO will be able to keep this hatchery alive for now, but at the cost of losing so much creep. And creep is fantastic when you're playing Swarmos.
Yeah.
Locust off creep are nowhere near as intimidating as Locust on creep. Really well done by Huck.
And also, so much of the Locust, or the Swarm host success has to do with how much vision the certain player has.
Sick forward blink there, gets 3 infestors, might even be able to get the 4th one as well. I don't think that TLO has the right amount of units here. Gets the 4th infestor, a couple of these stalkers are running low on HP, but this was worth it regardless. Even if he loses all of them, it's not going to happen. Might only end up losing 2 or perhaps even 3, but that was still a really good snipe. 4 infestors full of energy, hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go for a Swarm host play, and you're like TLO, any Zerg player needs a stepping stone to get to Swarm Host. Most often we see Roach Zergling defense to get to Swarm Host. But the fact that TLO's using Infestors to step to Swarm Host means he has that big extra tool that can work so well. It can lock down units that are trying to run away from the Locust. But you know what? That blink shut down all of that. So not only does TLO not have a big Ling Roach army, he lost all those Infestors. I mean, that is, like you said, can't be stressed enough how bad that was for TLO.
It's still going to be a little tough, of course, for Huck to immediately capitalize on all the amazing things that he has done. He is working off 2 robotics facilities, so he's going to try to deal with the Swarm most in a way that some Protoss players prefer, with just a lot of Blink Stalkers, maybe eventually Storm, some Force Fields, and of course Colossus to actually kill the Locust, which is a risky play, because often people overcommit, and especially as soon as the Vipers are out, it can be very tricky to make it work. If some Force Fields here go down, then he will definitely be able to kill that hatchery on the left side. I'm not sure if he wants to do it. I'm not even sure if Huck is aware of that hatchery on the left side of the map.
Down and bottom right, TLO's throwing down a big pack of spine crawlers, and Zealots are arriving to rip all of them down. I think this is very smart from TLO, or excuse me, very smart from Huck to avoid hitting the hatch, trying to put more pressure, killing off the spine crawler, because there's still a very low chance that he was going to be able to do that, going to be able to kill that. We're seeing TLO also power up to the Vipers. He has the Swarm Host, he has the Vipers. I mean, give me your analysis on what the big play is for Huck.
Huck is just, he wants to make sure that TLO doesn't get ultra rich. You know, there's always a phase in the game where Zerg sits back for a while and they get quite rich. He has to make sure that he doesn't lose these Colossus. Those are very expensive units. No. It's a beautiful engagement from these Roaches, and they will most likely be able to get both. Yes, they will. Great snipe there by TLO.
Very nice. I mean, the high grounds, being able to stick spine crawlers on top abates so much of the Protoss movement. But I mean, look at the vision from Huck, and then look at the vision for TLO.
That's not how you play Swarm most.
Yeah, I mean, TLO is just sort of pretty anemic in terms of vision.
He's pretty blind.
Yeah.
To say the least. Like, Huck has done a really good job in sniping those creep tumors, and I know it sounds silly that I keep talking about that, but it is so incredibly important when you're playing against a style like this, that Huck is making moves like he did. TLO once more is setting up a little bit of a flank, but he's going to have a hard time actually dealing with this army. The Warp Prism harassment in the main base is going to be a little tricky to deal with. Charge is almost ready. It's not ready just yet, but the moment it's ready, I really like how Huck is playing this. I think Huck is playing beautiful StarCraft now.
Absolutely incredible. Not even waiting for the slow Colossus, darting ahead so he can take advantage of this opportunity. Oh, no, 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 no.
Oh my God, the hatchery somehow survived?
Turn around, kill it. No, it's Zealot, he has 4 health, no.
But there are still so many Zealots in the main base. The Hive would be amazing as a pickoff. It's going to be tricky. Now there are a couple of defensive swarm as well. We have 16 of them, but TLO is just very blind, and he's taking a lot of economic damage in a phase in the game where normally Zerg players don't take that much economic damage. They're supposed to be safe all over the place. Okay, Stalkers are going to come in. They should be able to get the kill from downtown. Don't fight the Locust. There we go.
Gets the hatch. He's going to pick off drones. I think very smart for Huck in this position. He's losing the Stalkers, and he's going to replace them with more expensive units. We see.
Oh my God! He just wiped in 12 Dark Templars.
Jeez.
The stealth assassin army. Why not?
Yeah, why get one ninja when you can get many?
Wow, okay, he's using them for Archons.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times in these late game situations, you're saying, you know what, I could save all my minerals for Zealot warp-ins, but, you know, gas is what's really bottlenecking me. I'll go for the slightly gas, cheaper Archon out of DTs.
Yeah, it does happen very often when you're playing a PvZ on Overgrowth. Something that Incontrol actually recently pointed out, that you mine this map out surprisingly quick. Like, you feel like, you know, I'm going to have a lot of money. This Warp Prism does get picked off, but I actually think this is better news for TLO, because for Huck, because I don't think he would have been able to do a whole lot with all those units, and it was quite a bit of an investment. But during all this, he will be able to kill this hatch. No cancel either. Archon is a little bit out of position, but Huck is still playing this very well. The only thing he needs is a few Storms, a few High Templars for feedback, and then move out with 4 to 6 Colossus. He has 5 of them right now. He's still sending DTs all across the map. He's getting Storm. He's sniping bases. Huck is really like just picking TLO apart now, slowly but steady.
And I mean, I like these big, strong plays. In the early and mid game, you want to be efficient and careful, but in these late game stages, you're doing anything you can, from letting Zerg hit critical mass, warping in this many Zealots and this many DTs. Such a clever play. And look at this. There's a DT packed all the way in the bottom right.
Where is it?
Far, far bottom right.
That is actually so smart.
Like, you can't even see it. The overlay's covering it up on this screen.
But he's there. There are a lot of Zealots being wiped in the main. This time the Hive might actually be on some damage. Look at that guy. He's just waiting. If he goes in now, well, there are still a few Roaches there. With the double Warp Prism, Huck loves playing like this. You know that right now Huck is not just playing good StarCraft, he's playing the type of game that he enjoys to death. Like, this is just how Huck is good, spamming units everywhere.
No.
He's getting the Hive even with these Zealots all over the place. Meanwhile, being active with a big army in the middle of the map. TLO is not really known for his Swarm Host play, but sometimes it's just the best option for a Zerg player. But Huck is showing us that he knows how to deal with Swarm Host if things go his way.
Huck is dominating this game. This is his game, and TLO is desperately trying to rally his Swarm Host properly, trying to decide which base he wants to sack, where should his forces stay centered. I don't even think that there is that critical corruptor mass. I mean, 15 is nice, but once Huck decides, you know what, I'm going to start trying to do a big push. He has enough gas to build Archons for days.
And the spawning pool is actually extremely exposed. The Spire will finish up +2, so the Corruptors do have +2, but there is a chance he's going to lose both the Spire and the spawning pool over here. The Spire will fall for sure. The spawning pool is also going to fall. Well, once upon a time there was a main base, now there is an evolution chamber. That is not the right evolution, Sean.
Oh.
It's supposed to be the other way around.
Well, you see the evolution chamber and 2 geysers, as you say. We have 1 spore crawler protecting the skeletal remains of what was once a main base. With, I mean, all those zealot warpins, the resource that ain't being built is gas units. So Huck has 2,000 gas, and he's going to begin making as many Archons as his heart desires.
Still active with Warp Prism on the left side of the map. We're going to have to ask TLO, could he have done a better job in spreading out his Overlords? There is no Stargate yet on the map, so he really should have been able to do a slightly better job in sniping these Warp Prisms, because he has so many Corruptors. This is one hell of a Protoss army. He can kill Locusts for days with his army. All these Corruptors will go forward now and finally pick up this Prism, but this is such a scary army from Huck. He's taking his 5th base. The only thing I would advise Huck is not try to get too fancy. Up at a certain point, you just want to start trading. Even if he takes a bad fight now. The worst fight that could potentially happen is him still killing like 10, 12 Corruptors that won't come back. And that is still very good news. Huck has money, TLO doesn't have money. If there's ever a moment to fight, this is just a moment. You want to start trading units. You don't even have to win the fight, you just want to trade units.
These are some nice grabs. A little bit too swift on them. Did not really get the opportunity to deal the max damage. And this is the key moment. If Huck can break through, it's obviously his game. And TLO needs to do an amazingly well executed fight just to stay alive. And I think that this may have been...
TLO has actually done very good so far. He killed 6 Colossus and he hasn't even lost all of his Swarm Hosts. That was quite potentially the worst angle to engage from, because all the Colossus were able to get abducted without the Vipers ever having to expose themselves. There are still Zealots doing some serious work, and TLO is, or excuse me, Huck is still active with forces on the right side of the map. But TLO is aware of this. He's going to try to protect this base in the right bottom side, and if he is able to keep this hatchery alive, then suddenly there is hope again. Look at all these Locusts!
Where's the observer?
No, it's coming.
Where's the observer? There's no observer. There's no observers on the map.
Oh my God.
Oh no! Oh no! Huck!
Wow, Huck is suddenly down in supply. I mean, TLO is still not very rich. There are still Zealots and a Warp Prism being active over here on the left side. It would be awesome if Huck could get an observer over here. He might be able to get the Infestation Pit and even the hatchery. That would be like the 5th hatchery that he has killed already. There are 6 Infestors on the production tab now. I guess this is just because TLO has a lot of gas but no minerals. So he's like, oh, I might as well make Infestors. They're not that bad if I land good Fungals. But Huck is still playing very good, even though that engagement with the Colossus was pretty bad and wasn't worth it. In the end, it is still worth it just because he has so much more money to work with.
Yeah, I mean, you might have lost a huge army. Who cares? Huck has 5 bases, and he has now eliminated all but one of TLO's bases, as he has 33 drones collectively mining from one spot.
So TLO is just going to sit now on this one base that will eventually turn into a hive. Then we might see a few more Vipers, as I believe he did lose all of his Vipers. So he needed that hive, and eventually I guess TLO is going to try to secure the gold base. But this is just, you know, he's bleeding to death. There's really no other way to put it.
I mean, is it possible for TLO to literally sit still and wait and just mine out one base at a time, very patiently position, goop up the right side? I mean, obviously, Huck isn't going to allow that. The transition to Sky, I think, is the nail in the coffin of a Swarm Host player who can't really get his attack started.
Yeah, exactly. Look at the production tab. 14 High Templars being wiped in.
That's so gross.
4 star. That is gross. Unless you have a Protoss Heart, then it's beautiful.
Well,
there are 4 Stargates being wiped in as well, +1 air weapons on the way. I mean, Huck can win this game in any possible way from this point on. Even if he starts fighting the Swarmo straight up, if he lands a lot of Storms and fights with the Colossus, he'll still be fine.
I mean, that you could call that like a sexy play, you know, to get some Stargates up. But I wonder if morphing in of those Archons sabotage it a little bit. We see the Fleet Beacon en route. We see another expansion en route, but I almost feel like Huck should have maybe been saving some of that gas. I don't know. What are your thoughts on what Huck's doing?
It was a small overkill. And I mean, right now he's basically mining of all the bases that he will ever get. So from this point on, or at least most likely will ever get. So from this point on, he should normally be a tiny bit careful with his gas. If TLO is able to mine and saturate that base in the right bottom side of the map, then I do agree that he really should start being careful with his gas. Right now he can, you know, play around a little bit. He's a rich man. He's doing good. It's like when you're winning money in Vegas, you know, you want to spend a little more than you originally planned to do. That's what Huck's doing now. He's like, wow, I got a few more bases than I thought I would have. I'm just going to wipe in like 14 High Templars at a time. He will be fine, but I still want him to actually just start fighting. TLO's army is really not that impressive. The army supply tab shows us that it's 128 against 95. Even if Huck takes bad fights, it's still going to be good for him. But you do not want to give TLO more bases. And now slowly but steady, TLO did secure the right bottom side of this map, which was just unnecessary. He should not have been in a position to secure this base.
Looks like all the Zealots are down in the bottom right side. Warp Prism is going to go and make sure that that Overlord that's dropping creep in the main gets his due. That guy's going to go down. Void Rays getting produced in the unit tab. We see there's only 10 Corruptors.
Yeah, we do have 3 Infestors, but that's probably not enough. And take a look at the structures.
2 more Cybernetics cores going down. He's going to have 3 Cybernetics cores.
Huck is just having the time of his life now. We all know this feeling when you know you're going to win a game, but your opponent is not leaving and he thinks he might be annoying, but actually you're enjoying every single minute because you know that you're going to win this game for so much longer. And it always feels so much better than to win a 35-minute game than it does to win like a 12-minute game.
So true. I mean, let's be honest. Just making buildings, setting your buildings next to other buildings.
Yeah, it's great, man.
Having all the vision, you just feel safe. It's just like a nice wool sweater.
All right, Huck's going to go for it. He's going to bring the Void Rays as well, as he has quite a few of them. There is barely any anti-air out on the map. We have 10 Corruptors, which should not be enough to fight 7 Void Rays. We also have 2 Spore Crawlers, but neither should that be enough. And then 3 Infestors. Maybe in a pictured perfect scenario, there's somehow a way that these Void Rays will die. But Huck wiping in 2 more Stargates. Huck's spending so much money. He really needs to crush TLO now, but I think he will, Sean.
I mean, if he messes this up...
It's again not really the way you want to start the fight.
Yeah, I mean, if Huck messes this up, then this is probably going to be the downfall of Huck's. That's going to be the first step in it.
Right.
Engagement begins. Excellent fungal growth. Excellent yoink. Continuing to pull. No retreat if he picks off the Mothership core.
Wow, TLO's actually doing this very well so far. Even though now most of the Locusts have gone down. Huck losing a lot of expensive units. The Void Rays are fighting the Corruptors on the north side. The Corruptors are actually going to win that fight. There is just a single observer left. TLO is actually able to kill this army. Of course, Huck is still very rich, but from this point on, wow.
Oh my god, what a 2 back-to-back botched battles from Huck. I mean, I'm pretty sure Huck's still ahead. I mean, there's no bases for... TLO has this gold. He has 5 drones, but the money's quite low for Huck. Oh, if Huck blew this game, that would be just... That would be the most anti-clutch game in the history of MLG.
The anti-clutch game. The anti-clutch gene. During all this, the one good thing for Huck, I mean, there were a lot of bad things. He lost all of his Colossus, and it was too easy, but he did kill the economy in the right bottom side of the map, and TLO knows that without a mining base, it is just not going to work. I guess Huck was just a little bit surprised that all the units were coming from the right side. I think he perhaps thought that TLO still had stuff in his natural, because normally you don't want your Colossus to be the most exposed unit. But it doesn't matter. Huck played a really smart best of 3, and he played excellent in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes to show you also, if you're against a player like TLO, he's not just going to roll over and let himself be killed. TLO fought as hard as he could with so few units in such a difficult spot, and gave Huck a lot of trouble. I mean, it was kind of impressive to see Huck, you know, just engage with so many bases, with so much army, and TLO again and again was able to stay alive and very nearly even it up.
Yeah, well, Huck just excellent early game, excellent mid game, really got himself in a fantastic position. When you play Swarmo, Swarmo is actually one of the units that benefits the most off creep. It's A, vision that makes it a lot easier to defend because of course it is an immobile unit, and B, the Locust on creep are very scary. Off creep, they're still pretty scary, but nowhere near as scary. And Huck has done if there's one thing that Huck has become so much better in over the last 6 months, it's being active with a small group of units and always trying to deny vision of the opponent. He became very good at this, and this game, like you said at a certain point, take a look at TLO's vision. Well, other than the buildings, there was none.
It was just all cramped back, had no sense of what was going on. I mean, the snipes early on with the stalkers, the war prisms moving along the sides constantly, the dedication to being a little bit inefficient with units. You know, making 4 or 5 DTs with 4 or 5 zealots might not be the perfect, most efficient mix, but that's not what you want at that point in time. And that's a very uncomfortable feeling for a lot of new players. And that's how Huck was able to get 6 bases against a 1 base Zerg so easily.
I do not believe there's going to be a pre-game or a post-game interview, excuse me, as I see nobody on stage. Oh, actually, we might still have one. That is great, because I would love to hear what Huck has to say about it. Nope, there is not. Well, Sean, help me, because I have no idea what's going on.
Well, let me tell you what's happening in the groups right now. Violet and Huck are both 2-0 in Group B. In Group A, Polt is the only person who remains undefeated with a 2-0 record. And there's Huck. There he was. There's the camera right there. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner, E.G. Huck. He's been playing excellently, and of course, this is the tournament series.
Oh, and this is so cool as well. As Huck versus Violet will be one of the best of 3s that will be played on the main stage later tonight. And it's actually a super cool one because these 2 players, they keep running into each other. And a few days ago, Violet did have Huck's number during the battlegrounds, but I do feel that Huck again has played well, and he's also very good in learning from best of 3s. It's really becoming one of the most fun rivalries in the North American scene. Huck versus Violet, I think it's like up to 7 best of 3s now within like 2 months. So seeing another one, it could potentially be a very, very, very important one because Huck with his excellent start 2-0, if he's able to defeat Violet later today, there's a realistic shot that Huck perhaps makes top 2 in this group, and that would be sick.
That would be such a delight to see. When we return, we're going to be doing more group stage action. See you in a bit.